The shuttle shook violently as Lisa fought to match the asteroid's rotation. Danny sat in the cargo bay, surrounded by mining charges, each one powerful enough to crack a small moon. Through the viewport, he could see the massive rock tumbling against the stars, and beyond it, the tiny glimmer of Harmony Point waiting to die. "How close can you get me?" Danny asked through the intercom. "Close enough, maybe. This thing is spinning faster than the sensor showed. You're going to have maybe 30 seconds between each charge placement before the rotation carries you away from the surface." 30 seconds is plenty. "Danny, this is insane." "Yeah, well, too late to back out now." Lisa brought the shuttle alongside the asteroid and matched its speed. The rock filled the viewport now, dark and ancient and completely indifferent to the lives it was about to destroy. Danny sealed his suit and opened the cargo bay doors. The void greeted him with absolute silence. No air, no sound, just the endless darkness and the cold. Rock before him dot. Danny attached a tether line to the shuttle and jumped. The crossing took forever and no time at all. One moment he was falling towards stone, and the next his boots were magnetically locked to the asteroid's surface. He could feel the rotation trying to throw him off. His suit's indicators showed radiation and temperature and pressure all well. Outside safe limits, he started placing charges. The first one went smoothly. Danny found a crater that matched the mining team's calculations and armed the device. Then he moved across the surface, looking for the next optimal point. Lisa's voice came through his helmet. "Charge 1 is active. Move to grid point 7. Danny moved. The asteroid's surface was rough and unstable. Rocks broke free under his feet and spun away into space. He planted the second charge and then the third, and then lost count as the work consumed all his attention. Back on the station, the command center watched through the shuttle's cameras. Every soul on Harmony Point had stopped working to witness what two humans were attempting. Keth Voren stood rigid with tension. Zoom had gone pale with fear. "How many charges remain?" Keth Voren asked. 8 more. He's running out of time. Danny planted the 4th charge and felt his suit alarm start beeping. The radiation from the asteroid's core was higher than expected. His suit was filtering most of it, but not all. He ignored the warning and kept moving. 5th charge, 6th, 7th. Lisa's voice was strained. "Danny, the calculations aren't working. The asteroid's composition is different than we thought. The charges won't fragment it evenly. There's going to be a massive chunk that survives, and it's still big enough to destroy the station." Danny stopped and looked at the charges he had already placed. She was right. He could see it now that he understood the rock's structure. The mining team's calculations had assumed standard asteroid composition. This thing was something else, older, denser, more stubborn. What if I reconfigure the detonation pattern? You'd need to manually adjust each charge. That takes time we don't have. Danny was already moving back toward the first charge. Then I'd better work fast. He reached the first device and opened its control panel. The adjustments were delicate, and his gloves were thick, and the asteroid kept trying to throw him into space. He made the changes anyway. 1 charge reconfigured. 7 more to go. Lisa watched his life signs on her display and tried not to scream. His radiation exposure was climbing. His oxygen was draining faster than it should. His heart rate was dangerously high. But Danny kept working with the same steady focus he brought to every impossible repair. On the station, Zoom suddenly moved toward the shuttle bay. Their guards tried to stop them. "Minister, where are you going?" "To help. Those humans are going to die for us. The least I can do is try to prevent that." "But you cannot survive vacuum exposure. Palaxians require atmospheric pressure. I require less than most species believe. And my body can regenerate from damage that would kill a Selvari or human. There may be something I can do." Zoom reached the shuttle bay and commandeered a small transport pod. It launched toward the asteroid before anyone could stop it. Danny had reconfigured 6 charges when his suit gave the final warning. Critical radiation exposure. Immediate evacuation required. He had maybe 5 minutes before his organs started failing. He kept working. The 7th charge was the problem. Its position was wrong. Danny needed to move it to a new location, but moving meant walking across a section of asteroid that was directly exposed to the rock's radioactive core. The radiation there would burn through his suit in seconds. He started walking anyway. Then, Zoom arrived. The Palaxian transport pod landed nearby, and Zoom's gelatinous form flowed out into the vacuum. Their body was already shifting and hardening to survive the exposure. It hurt. Danny could tell it hurt from the way Zoom's colors flickered. But the minister kept coming. "What are you doing?" Danny demanded. "You need assistance." "I am providing it. This will kill you. My body regenerates. Yours does not. Tell me what to do." Danny did not have time to argue. He pointed at the 7th charge and explained what needed to happen. Zoom listened and then moved toward the radioactive zone. Their body began to blacken and crack as the radiation tore through them. They reached the charge anyway. Danny talked Zoom through the adjustments. The minister's appendages were burned and barely functional, but they made the changes. The charge was armed and reconfigured. Lisa's voice broke through. 1 minute to detonation point. Get out of there now. Danny grabbed Zoom's damaged form and dragged them back toward the transport pod. The minister was barely conscious, and their colors had faded to a sickly gray. Danny shoved them inside and sealed the hatch. "Go, now." Lisa brought the shuttle in, and Danny jumped for it. He caught the cargo bay edge and pulled himself inside as Lisa accelerated away from the asteroid. Behind them, the charges detonated. The asteroid broke apart in a perfect pattern of controlled destruction. Fragments scattered in every direction except toward the station. The pieces that remained were small enough to burn up in the station's defensive shields. Harmony Point was saved. In the shuttle's cargo bay. Danny lay gasping for breath while his suit's medical systems pumped him full of anti-radiation drugs. Beside him, Zoom's transport pod contained a Palaxian minister who would need weeks of regeneration but would survive. Lisa's voice came through the intercom. Danny, answer me. I'm here. We did it. You're insane. Both of you. Maybe, but we're alive. And so is everyone else." On the station, the celebration was immediate and overwhelming. 2 species that had almost gone to war were now united in gratitude and amazement. They had witnessed something that would become legend. A human and a Palaxian risking everything to save strangers. Later, when Danny was back in medical with Zoom, regenerating in the next room, Keth Vorn visited them both. "I have spent my life believing that logic and caution were the highest virtues. That risk should always be minimized, and sacrifice was foolish waste. You have shown me that I was wrong." Danny shrugged and winced as his burned skin complained. "I just did what needed doing." "Yes, and that is precisely what makes your species remarkable. You do what needs doing, regardless of cost. You care about others more than yourselves. This is not weakness, as I once believed. It is the greatest strength in the universe." Zoom's colors flickered weakly from the regeneration tank. "When you said hold my beer, I should have stepped forward, not back." Danny laughed despite the pain. "Next time you will." And somehow everyone in that room knew it was true. The galaxy had learned something new about humans that day. When a Deathworlder says, "Hold my beer," step back fast because something impossible is about to become possible, but also consider stepping forward. Because sometimes the impossible needs more than one pair of hands. The station hummed with life around them. Outside, the viewport stars burned in the eternal darkness. And somewhere in the command center, a new message was being sent to every species in the sector. If you ever need help, the humans will come. They will risk everything. They will do the impossible. All you have to do is ask. 12 hours after the trade agreement was signed, Danny Cole was already out of bed and ignoring medical orders. His skin still burned and his lungs still ached, but he could walk, and that was enough. Lisa had given up trying to keep him resting and settled for following him around, making sure he did not collapse. The negotiations had ended in success, beyond anyone's expectations. The Zilvari and Palaxians had not only resolved their trade dispute, but had begun discussions about future cooperation. Both species credited the human engineer, who had nearly killed himself, proving their conflict was a misunderstanding. Danny found the attention embarrassing. He kept insisting he had just done his job, and people kept treating him like a hero. He escaped to the engineering section, where the machines did not care about politics, and the problems were simple, honest. Mechanical failures. Lisa found him there elbow deep in a recycling unit that had been making strange noises for weeks. She leaned against the doorway and watched him work. The delegations are asking about you again. Tell them I'm busy. They want to give you a medal. Both species. 2 medals. Danny grunted and tightened a bolt. I don't need medals. I need this coupling replaced before the whole unit fails. Lisa smiled despite herself. Some things never changed. Danny would always rather fix machines than accept praise. It was part of what made him who he was. Then the station. Alarms began to scream. Red lights flashed throughout the engineering section, and a computerized voice announced proximity alert in calm tones that did not match the urgency of the situation. Danny dropped his tools and ran toward the command center with Lisa close behind. The command center was already crowded when they arrived. Station Commander Vance stood at the main display surrounded by officers and technicians, all staring at the same terrible image, an asteroid, massive and dark and tumbling through space directly toward Harmony Point. How did we miss this? Vance demanded. Sensor blind spot, sir. The asteroid was hidden behind the station's own shadow until 10 minutes ago. We have maybe 2 hours before impact. Can we move the station? Negative. Our maneuvering thrusters would need 6 hours to push us far enough. We don't have that kind of time. Danny pushed through the crowd to get a better look at the display. The asteroid was roughly cylindrical and covered in craters from ancient impacts. It was spinning slowly as it approached, and its trajectory would bring it directly through the station center. Evacuation? Lisa asked. We're preparing escape pods now. Most personnel should survive if we start immediately. But the station itself will be destroyed. Keth Vaughn's voice came from behind them. This is unacceptable. The destruction of Harmony Point would reignite tensions between our peoples. Each side would blame the other for inadequate safety protocols. Zoom agreed with a pulse of worried orange. The Palaxian Council is already suspicious of this station. Its destruction would confirm their fears. The trade agreement would collapse within days. Commander Vance rubbed his eyes with exhaustion. I understand the political implications, but I cannot save a station from an asteroid with nothing but good intentions. We need solutions, not concerns. Danny stared at the asteroid image. His mind was already working through possibilities and discarding them one by one. The station had no weapons capable of destroying something that size. Evacuation would save lives, but doom the peace. There had to be another option. Then he saw it. The mining equipment bay on the station's lower level. Charges designed to break apart asteroids for resource extraction. They had been sitting unused for years because Harmony Point had never developed its mining operations. Those mining charges, Danny said. Could they break up the asteroid? A technician checked the inventory. We have enough to fragment a rock that size, but they need to be placed precisely. The asteroid's rotation and composition require manual placement for maximum effect. So we send drones. Our drones aren't designed for that kind of precision work on a moving target. They would miss the optimal placement points. Danny looked at Lisa. She knew what he was thinking before he said it. Danny, no. You just got out of medical. You're still healing. Someone has to place those charges by hand. Someone has to fly out there and do what the drones can't. Commander Vance turned to face him. You're volunteering for a suicide mission? After what you just went through. I'm volunteering to save this station and everyone on it. Same thing I did yesterday. Same thing I'll do tomorrow if I have to. Lisa grabbed his arm. Then I'm coming with you. You need a pilot and I'm the best shuttle pilot on this station. Danny started to argue, but Lisa cut him off. Don't even try. You're not going out there alone. We do this together or not at all. The aliens watched this exchange with the same mixture of horror and fascination they had shown before. Kethvorn stepped forward and addressed Commander Vance. You will allow them to attempt this? 2 humans against an asteroid? I can't stop them. And honestly, I don't have a better option. Zoom shifted through conflicted colors. The probability of success is extremely low. The probability of their deaths is almost certain. Danny smiled that calm smile that Lisa had learned to recognize. The smile that meant he had already decided and nothing would change his mind. Almost certain isn't the same as completely certain. Humans have survived worse odds than this. He looked at Lisa and she nodded. They left the command center together, heading toward the shuttle bay, while behind them 2 alien species watched in amazement and fear. They are going to die, Kethvorn said quietly. Perhaps, Zoom replied. Or perhaps they will teach us something new about what is possible. The shuttle launched minutes later, carrying 2 humans and a cargo hold full of mining charges. On the station's view screens, everyone watched the tiny craft accelerate toward the spinning death that approached from the void. Danny woke up in a medical bed surrounded by machines that beeped and hummed and monitored every function of his damaged body. The lights were dim and gentle on his eyes. His throat felt like he had swallowed broken glass, and his skin burned in places. He did not want to think about. Lisa sat in a chair beside his bed. She looked like she had not slept in days, and her eyes were red from crying or exhaustion or both. You're an idiot, she said when she saw him awake. Danny tried to smile, but his cracked lips made it painful. Did it work? Yes. The data proved everything. No war. No embargo. They're actually talking peacefully now. Good. Danny closed his eyes and let himself drift for a moment. The pain medication was making everything soft and distant. How bad am I? Chemical burns on your lungs and skin. You'll heal, but the doctors say you need at least 2 weeks of rest. Real rest, not Danny Cole rest where you sneak out to fix things. I make no promises. The door to the medical bay opened and Danny heard the clicking footsteps of a silvery and the soft hum of a Palaxian mobility chair. He opened his eyes to see Kethvorn and Zoom entering with their full delegations behind them. Lisa stood up quickly. He just woke up. He needs rest. We will not stay long, Kethvorn said. We merely wish to understand. Zoom rolled closer to Danny's bed and studied him with senses that humans could not perceive. Your body is severely damaged. The medical staff says you were exposed to the gas for nearly 15 minutes. That should have killed you within 5. Danny shrugged and immediately regretted it as pain shot through his shoulders. I've always been stubborn about dying. This is not about stubbornness, Kethvorn said. We have examined human biology since your action yesterday. Your species originates from a world that should not produce intelligent life at all. Extreme temperature variations, dangerous predators, toxic plants and venomous creatures. Diseases that mutate faster than medicine can adapt. Your world is a death trap, and yet your species not only survived, but thrived. Danny blinked. Earth's not that bad. I mean, yeah, there are some dangerous places, but your oceans contain creatures that could swallow our largest ships whole. Your weather patterns produce storms powerful enough to level cities. Your planet regularly shakes apart and spews molten rock from beneath the surface. Your own sun can cause fatal damage to your skin if you stand outside too long. Okay, when you put it like that, it sounds worse than it is. Zoom shifted to a color that suggested intense academic interest. Yet humans choose to live in these dangerous areas. You build cities on fault lines. You settle near volcanoes. You swim in waters filled with predators. Why? Lisa answered for Danny since he was still trying to form words through the medication haze. Because those places have resources or beauty or history that matters to us. Humans weigh the risks against the rewards and often decide that the rewards are worth the danger, even when the danger includes death. Death is always a possibility. We try not to let fear of it control our choices. The Sovari delegation muttered among themselves in clicks and hums. The Pelaxians shifted through concerned colors. Danny could tell they were struggling with something fundamental about human nature. Kethvorn stepped closer to the bed and lowered his voice as if sharing a secret. Among my people, we calculate all risks before taking action. If the probability of failure exceeds acceptable limits, we do not proceed. This is logical. This is safe. This is how we have survived as a species. Same with us, Zoom added. Palaxians only act when success is reasonably certain. Anything else is foolish waste of resources and life. Danny managed to push himself slightly upright, despite Lisa's glare of disapproval. But what happens when the situation is urgent and you don't have time to calculate? What happens when someone needs help right now and the safe option is to do nothing? Neither alien answered. Humans evolved on a dangerous world. We learned that hesitation kills. Sometimes you have to act before you think because thinking takes too long. Yeah, a lot of us die doing stupid, brave things. But a lot more of us survive because someone else did something stupid and brave at the right moment. Kethvorn's mandibles clicked slowly. You are saying that illogical risk-taking is itself a survival strategy? I'm saying that caring about others more than yourself is how humans build communities. My ancestors survived because they protected each other, even when it cost them. I helped you too, because that's what humans do. We see a problem and we fix it. We see someone in danger and we help. We don't always think about whether we'll survive. We just act. The medical bay fell silent except for the beeping machines. Danny lay back against his pillow, exhausted from even that small speech. Lisa gently adjusted his blankets and gave the alien delegations a pointed look. He needs to rest now. We can continue this conversation later. Kethvorn bowed his head in a gesture of respect. We have troubled you enough. Thank you for your explanation, human. It has given us much to consider. Zoom pulsed with soft blue gratitude. You saved us from a war that would have cost many lives. We are in your debt. No debt, Danny mumbled as his eyes closed. Just doing my job. The aliens left quietly, and Lisa stayed beside Danny's bed, watching him sleep. She wondered if he understood how much he had changed things today. Not just stopping a war, but showing two ancient species. That the universe contained creatures willing to die for. Strangers died outside the medical bay. Kethvorn and Zoom walked together for the foes. First time without their guards. Between them, we misjudged the humans, Kethvorn said. We saw them as young and reckless. We did not understand that their recklessness has purpose. They are still terrifying, Zoom replied. But perhaps it is a useful kind of terror. The kind that makes enemies hesitate and friends feel safe. Indeed, I believe our peoples have much to learn from these Deathworlders. If they survive their own nature long enough to teach us. They continued walking and talking, and somewhere in the background, a station engineer slept peacefully knowing he had done something good. That was enough for Danny Cole. It was always enough. The minutes stretched like hours in the negotiation chamber. Lisa stood near the door with Danny's cold coffee cup still in her hands. She could not sit down. She could not look away from the hallway where Danny had disappeared. Kethvorin, the Selvari ambassador, moved closer to her with the careful steps of someone approaching a wounded animal. His forearms were folded behind his back, and his compound eyes studied her face with scientific interest. "You are afraid for him," Kethvorin said. It was not a question. Yes, Lisa saw no point in lying. Yet you did not stop him. You did not attempt to prevent his suicidal action. Lisa almost laughed, but the sound caught in her throat. You can't stop Danny when he decides to do something. Nobody can. He just does it, and somehow survives. The Palaxian minister Zoom slid closer in their mobile chair. Their body was currently a confused mixture of green curiosity and gray concern. This is a pattern of behavior? The human has done such things before? Lisa thought about all the times she had watched Danny walk into danger with that same calm expression. The memories came flooding back, and she found herself talking just to fill the terrible silence of waiting. Last year we had a hull breach on Deck 9. The emergency doors sealed, but there was a family trapped on the wrong side. Rescue team said they needed 20 minutes to cut through. Danny said the family had maybe 10 minutes of air. Kethvorin tilted his head. What did he do? He put on a suit rated for 15 minutes of vacuum exposure. Then he went outside the station and climbed across the hull to reach the breach from the other side. It took him 18 minutes. Zoom pulsed with alarm. But that exceeds the suit's rated capacity. The human should have died. The suit failed at 16 minutes. Danny held his breath for the last 2. He pulled that family out through a hole in the hull while his skin was freezing and his lungs were empty. Medical said he was clinically dead for almost a minute before they brought him back. The aliens exchanged looks that Lisa could not read. She kept talking because stopping meant thinking about what Danny was breathing right now. 6 months ago, we had pirates dock with the station. They took hostages and demanded cargo that we did not have. Negotiations were going nowhere. Danny walked into their ship alone and challenged their captain to a drinking contest. A drinking contest, Kethvorin repeated slowly. This is a human ritual? It's a competition to see who can consume more alcohol without passing out. Alcohol is a toxin that affects human cognition and motor control. Most species find it poisonous. Zoom shifted to deep purple confusion. The human voluntarily poisoned himself? To what purpose? Humans can tolerate alcohol in doses that would kill most other species. Danny knew this. The pirate captain didn't. Danny drank him unconscious and then convinced the rest of the crew that their captain had lost and the deal was off. They left peacefully. The chamber fell quiet again. Lisa looked at the clock. Danny had been in that shaft for almost 12 minutes. The gas should have killed him 8 minutes ago. This behavior, Kethvorin said carefully, it is not unique to this one human. Others of your species act this way. Lisa thought about human history. The explorers who sailed into unknown oceans. The climbers who scaled impossible mountains. The scientists who tested vaccines on themselves. The firefighters who ran into burning buildings. The soldiers who threw themselves on grenades to save their friends. Danny is more extreme than most, she admitted. But the instinct exists in all of us. When someone we care about is in danger, we stop calculating risks. We just act, even when the mathematics guarantee death. Especially then, Because if we don't try, then the people we're trying to save definitely die. If we do try, there's at least a chance. Humans would rather die trying than live knowing we didn't. Zoom's colors shifted through emotions that had no human names. This is terrifying, the minister said. Your species is terrifying. Before Lisa could respond, the door burst open and Danny Cole staggered through. His emergency suit was melted in patches, and his exposed skin was red with chemical burns. He was coughing blood and barely standing, but he was alive. He held up a small data chip and grinned through cracked lips. Got it, and fixed the pipe. You're welcome. Then he collapsed. Lisa dropped the coffee cup and caught him before he hit the floor. Station Medical was already on the way, because she had called them the moment Danny entered that shaft. They arrived within seconds and loaded Danny onto a stretcher. Lung damage, one of the medics reported. Chemical burns on 40% of his body. He'll live, but he's going to hurt for a while. Lisa followed the stretcher to the door and then stopped. She turned back to face the alien delegations who stood frozen in shock. That data chip proves everything, Danny said. The filtration system was failing. Nobody attacked anyone. You can check it yourselves. But right now, I'm going with him to medical. You two can figure out whether you still want to go to war over a misunderstanding. She left without waiting for an answer. Cathvorn and Zoom stood alone, in the chamber surrounded by their advisors and guards. The silence stretched until the Selvari ambassador finally spoke. I find myself uncertain how to proceed. The human has presented evidence that neither of our peoples is to blame for our suffering. He obtained this evidence at nearly the cost of his life. For us, for species he has never met and has no obligation to protect. Zoom's colors settled into a thoughtful blue. The behavior defies all logic. He gained nothing from this action. The risk far exceeded any possible reward. Yet he did it anyway and succeeded through sheer refusal to acknowledge his own mortality. Perhaps we should examine the evidence he provided. If it confirms his claims, then we must reconsider our positions. The data chip sat on the floor where Danny had dropped it. A Selvari aide picked it up and loaded it into the room's display system. The numbers and timestamps told a clear story. The filtration failure. The resulting contamination. The innocent mechanical cause of everyone's problems. The war that almost happened evaporated like morning mist. But something else remained. Something neither species fully understood yet. They had just witnessed a human prove that he would die for strangers. Not because he was ordered to. Not because he would be rewarded. Simply because it was the right thing to do and he was capable of doing it. Cathvorn looked at Zoom. We should visit the medical bay. I wish to speak further with this human and his companion. Zoom agreed, and together the two alien delegations walked toward medical to meet the man who had saved them from themselves. The space station Harmony Point floated in the darkness between three solar systems. It was a neutral place where species came to talk and trade and solve their problems without fighting. Today it was full of tension so thick that Danny Cole could almost taste it in the recycled air. Danny was not a diplomat or a soldier or anyone important. He was just an engineer who fixed things that broke. The station had many things that broke often, and Danny had become known as the man who could repair anything. He walked through the curved hallways with a tool bag over his shoulder, and grease stains on his uniform that never quite washed. Out, the main negotiation chamber was ahead, and Danny could hear raised voices even through the thick metal doors. He stopped to listen because curiosity was one of his many flaws. Inside that chamber, two alien species were ready to start a war over trade routes and broken promises. The Selvari were tall insect-like beings with forearms and compound eyes that saw everything. They valued honor and protocol above all else, and right now they believed they had been poisoned. Their ambassador Kethvorin stood rigid with anger, and his mandibles clicked with each word he spoke. Across the table, the Palaxians waited in their special chairs. They were gelatinous creatures that shifted colors to communicate emotion. Their trade minister Zoom was currently a deep angry red that pulsed with purple streaks of suspicion. The Palaxians believed the Selvari had sabotaged their atmospheric regulators, and they were not in a forgiving mood. Lisa Tran stood near the back of the room looking exhausted. She was assistant to the human diplomat who had been called away to handle another crisis. This left Lisa alone to keep two alien species from declaring each other enemies. She was doing her best, but her best was not enough. Danny watched through a small window in the door. He saw Lisa try to speak and get interrupted by Kethvorin. He saw Zoom flash bright orange, which meant the Palaxian was about to say something insulting. He saw the whole situation sliding toward disaster. Then his communicator beeped. A maintenance request from the lower levels. The station's filtration system was acting strange, and someone needed to check it. Danny almost ignored it. The filtration system was always acting strange. But something made him accept the request and head down to the maintenance level. Maybe it was instinct, or maybe it was luck, or maybe the universe just had plans for Danny Cole that day. The lower levels of Harmony Point were cramped and hot, and full of pipes that carried water and air and waste to every part of the station. Danny crawled through access tunnels and checked readings on old machines that should have been replaced years ago. What he found made him stop and think hard. The filtration core was failing. Not completely, but enough to cause problems in certain sections of the station. The Selvari quarters would get contaminated water. The Palaxian section would get irregular atmospheric readings. Neither species was attacking the other. The station itself was falling apart and making everyone sick and paranoid. Danny needed to tell someone. He needed to stop those negotiations before someone said something that could not be taken back. He ran through the corridors faster than he had run in years. He burst into the negotiation chamber just as Kethvorin was declaring that the Selvari would consider any further contact with Palachians to be an act of war. Everyone turned to look at the sweaty human engineer who had no business being there. Lisa's eyes went wide. "Danny, what are you doing here?" "The filtration system," Danny said between breaths. "It's broken. Nobody poisoned anyone. Nobody sabotaged anything. The station is old and falling apart, and that's why everyone is having problems." Kethvorin's S-compound eyes focused on Danny with cold intensity. "You expect us to believe this convenient explanation? That our suffering is merely an accident?" Zoom shifted to skeptical yellow. "The human offers words. Words prove nothing." "I can prove it," Danny said. "The filtration core has the data. All the contamination and atmospheric problems started at the same time from the same source." "But there's a problem." Lisa stepped forward. "What problem?" "The core is in maintenance shaft 7. That shaft is currently filled with toxic gas leaking from a cracked pipe near the Palaxian section. The same gas that's messing with their regulators. I need to get in there and pull the diagnostic data and fix the leak while I'm at it." The Palaxian minister Zoom pulsed with alarm. "That gas is lethal to most carbon-based life forms. Exposure of more than 3 minutes causes permanent cellular damage. 5 minutes causes death." Kethvorin clicked his mandibles in what might have been agreement. The human cannot survive such conditions. This is a pointless gesture. Danny looked at Lisa. She knew that look. She had seen it before when Danny decided to do something stupid and brave, and probably both at the same time. "Danny, no," she said. Danny handed her his coffee cup. It was cold and half empty, but he always carried it with him. "Hold my beer," he said. Lisa took the cup automatically. "This is coffee. Close enough." Danny turned toward the door. The aliens in the room went very still. Cat Thorne leaned forward with sudden interest. Zoom shifted through several colors that had no translation. "What does this phrase mean?" Cat Thorne asked. "Hold my beer. What is the significance?" Lisa watched Danny leave and felt her heart sink. "It means he's about to do something dangerous. Something most people would call impossible. And he expects to succeed anyway." "But the gas," Zoom said. "The mathematics of exposure time and cellular damage are absolute. He cannot survive long enough to complete the repair." "Yeah," Lisa said quietly. "He knows that. He's going anyway." Danny grabbed an emergency suit from the storage locker near Shaft 7. The suit was rated for light chemical exposure. The gas in that shaft was not light. He pulled it on anyway and checked the seals twice, and then a third time because he was not completely stupid. The shaft entrance had warning signs in 6 languages. Danny ignored all of them and opened the hatch. The gas was invisible, but he could feel it pressing against his suit like something alive and hungry. He started climbing. The diagnostic console was 200 meters into the shaft. Danny counted his steps and watched his suit's warning indicators turn from green to yellow to red. The suit beeped at him, constantly telling him to turn back. He kept climbing. His skin started to itch, then burn. The gas was getting through the suit's filters. Danny ignored it and focused on the console ahead. He reached it and plugged in his diagnostic tool. The data started downloading. Contamination logs and atmospheric readings and timestamps that proved everything he had said. The proof that would stop a war. The download finished. Danny grabbed the data chip and looked at the cracked pipe that was causing all the problems. It was a simple fix. 10 minutes of work. His suit maybe had 5 minutes of protection left. Danny pulled out his tools and started working. The burning sensation spread from his skin to his lungs. He started humming an old song his father used to sing. It helped him. Ignored the pain. Back in the vase. Negotiation chamber. Lisa watched the clock and prayed to whatever might be, listening that Danny Cole would come back alive.